Good morning. It is 7:18 a.m. on Sunday, April 12th, 2015. I'm Christiana Ellis and I just got up. This is 5 more minutes. So some of you may have noticed on Twitter yesterday, and I don't know if you maybe noticed the thing that I noticed before I did, but somehow in my own dumbness, I skipped a bunch of numbers when I was numbering my episodes, and I went straight from 71, from 70 to 81, and skipped the entire 70s, which also means that all of my stuff about the episode 100 on the day before my birthday and that whole thing, that wasn't actually my 100th episode yet, and I have not yet had my 100th episode. So I feel a little bit goofy. I considered making up some fun science fiction-y story to say, oh yeah, well, I was actually abducted by aliens, and when they finished with me, they sent me back in time, but like somehow the number of episodes I did while I was abducted, yeah. I have not 100% decided yet whether to just try to go back and renumber them or to maybe just stop using numbers since I'm also using the date anyway. I don't know. What I thought I might talk about today, though, is that I was rewatching Game of Thrones Season 4 in preparation for Season 5 to start. And I was just trying to decide whether or not to include the spoiler that I was thinking about. The short version, I'll talk about that at the very end of the video with a warning about when I'm going to start in terms of just what the specific example is. But the non-spoilery version is that when I originally watched Season 4, I had a problem with something that happens in Episode 9. I didn't really like it. But then when I'm rewatching, I saw something in Episode 3 that I said, oh, that was something that was additionally supported beyond what I had realized, and it made me more okay with the thing in Episode 9. I didn't remember it. Nobody pointed it out to me. It wasn't exactly an obvious thing. But it made me really think about that, just because in this day and age with so many movies and TV shows and books and video games to consume, I wonder if we do less repeat consuming, like rereading a favorite book or replaying a favorite game or rewatching a favorite movie. I wonder if we do that less, just because there's so many other things to choose from. I know that I have frequently made that decision myself of like, oh, I'd kind of like to watch that, but, I could also watch something I haven't already seen. But I wonder what that does. Do we consume things less deeply if we're not forced by circumstance to watch it over and over? I mean, I remember when I was a kid, we had a copy of Back to the Future taped off of HBO on a VHS tape, and I watched that over and over and over. I know it's almost kind of a joke about how little kids have Disney movies that they like to watch over and over, and I think, at a certain stage of development for children, there's an uncertainty about the world that is reassuring when you are able to watch a movie over and over and you know what happens the next time. And so it's like practice for making predictions about the world that come true based on your experience. But I think there's more to it than that. There's a lot of media that really is deep enough that watching it or reading it or playing it more than once will teach you something that the first time didn't. And yet now there's so many choices that it's easy to just everything is disposable. You watch it once, you read it once, and then you set it aside because there's so much more to consume. I don't know that I have an answer about that, because I also don't necessarily think that it's a good idea to endlessly consume the same material over and over and over again at the exclusion of anything new. So I guess it's just an idle thought generally that something has changed about the world in a subtle way, and I'm not sure what to think about it specifically. Maybe it's just a lesson to say, revisit those favorites every once in a while. Maybe you'll find something new. Or also, potentially, if you saw something and you really hated it, but everybody else seems to like it, could be you missed something. But then the flip side of that is, like, why would you bother spending some of your precious time re-watching something you already didn't like the first time? I don't know the answer. In any case, that's the end of the primary thought here, but I'll go into the spoilery details of the specific Game of Thrones example I was thinking of. That's all that's going to be in the rest of this episode. So if you would prefer not to be spoiled by something that happened in Season 4 of Game of Thrones, skip the rest of this video. Gone? Okay. So the part that I didn't especially like on first viewing in Episode 9. Episode 9 is, of course, the big fight had up at Castle Black and the wall where the wildlings are attacking. And Ygritte is attacking, and she is looking to kill Jon, or is she? Is she still in love with him? What's going on there? And there's the big moment where they're finally face to face. Is she going to shoot him? Is she not? But then she gets an arrow through the back from behind. Who is it? It's that little kid that was rescued from the village. The kid that only moments earlier we had seen cowering, and Sam told him to find a weapon, fight someone. And, the kid gives Jon a little nod, like, you're welcome for saving you from this wildling that looked like she was about to shoot you. But, of course, Jon is horrified because he didn't actually want to kill Ygritte, if he could help it. So, in the book, it doesn't happen quite like that. Ygritte does die, and the emotions are largely the same. But what really happens in the book, or it's not what really happens. What happens in the book's version is that Jon, at one point during the battle, fires an arrow at someone who's too far away to see clearly, and he does it on instinct and then realizes only after the fact, wait, was that her? Did I just kill her? And he's not sure. And then later, after the battle is over, he goes around and he finds her, and she is dying from an arrow. But he checks, and the arrow isn't his. So there's there's still the sadness that she's dying, but some subtle relief that it wasn't his arrow, because that would have felt more painful. And so definitely, I liked the nuance of that. And that's, I get that maybe wouldn't play right on the, it would be hard to show that and have all of the emotion attached to that in the TV show. So if they had to change that, that's not a problem. And generally speaking, I enjoy seeing what the differences between different adaptations are. But that one bothered me just a little bit, because I felt like if this kid was going to be the one to kill Ygritte, I wanted that to feel earned. Alternately, just not knowing who did it. If he just found her and then she had an arrow in her and we didn't really ever know who shot it, that almost would have felt like it's just the battle in general that killed her, and it doesn't feel like there has to be a character moment where that's earned. And I didn't feel like the kid earned the moment. Like, it's one thing for him to find the courage to fight, but for him to be the one to kill this character we care about, I don't know. I didn't like it very much. But when I rewatched episode 3, that's the episode where this kid is in his village that is attacked by the wildling raiding party. His whole family is killed, and one of the Thens threatens to eat him and says that he is going to eat his mom and dad, and then sends him off to Castle Black to warn them, because it's all a trick. The wildlings are trying to draw the Night's Watch out. Anyway, in that sequence, there's a shot where the kid is hiding under a cart and watching as Ygritte kills like 2 people. And there's this long shot of him staring at her with like hatred and fear and anger on his face as Ygritte kills people. And I was realizing, oh, he does have a personal reason to want to kill her. And I don't know, just something about that made me feel more okay with that story decision. I'm still not sure it would have been my first choice necessarily, but now it doesn't bother me the way that it did before. In any case, that was the example. So, wow, 11 minutes. Okay, so that's it for today. I'll talk to you guys tomorrow for 5 more minutes.